وسلم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. Respected ulama, Hufaz, beloved brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. As I approached the podium this evening, I was asked, are we speaking about Surah Yusuf? If I do decide to go with Surah Yusuf, we're going to read Taraweeh tomorrow night, not tonight. Beautiful chapter, one of the most beautiful chapters in the Quran, and therefore Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, نَحْنُ نَقُصُّ عَلَيْكَ أَحْسَنَ الْقَصَصِ. أَحْسَنَ الْقَصَص. The best of narrations you can get is the one of Nabi Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam. Let me touch on two things basically. And I must say, while the Hufaz was reading Surah Yusuf, I was listening to them and I was enjoying it thoroughly. And for well done to the Hufaz, the way they read it last night with a lot of emotion. And firstly, the first point I would like to make is the difficult part that Nabi Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam went through, and the high level of his consciousness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imagine you are not just thrown into a well. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about ghayabat al-jub. Ghayabat al-jub is just not a well. It is in the depth of darkness of the earth, and you are left there to die. And from there you are saved, you become a slave. And then from there you become seduced by your master's wife. And then you go to prison because you do not want to degrade yourself. The level of consciousness when he says, Ma'ad Allah, everything is closed, doors are closed. And she says, I am yours, you can have me now. He says, Ma'ad Allah. The level of consciousness of Nabi Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam, the supreme height of it, that is what we need to develop during the month of Ramadan. لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. To be aware that Allah is watching over us. Allah is listening us. Allah is looking over us. Allah is observing us. All the time, Ma'ad Allah, innahu Rabbi ahsana mathwaya. Your Lord, your Master was good to me. From there, moving on, interpreting dreams, becoming the governor, and at the end, with everything that they have done to him, against him, what he's been through, he never lost hope for once. But at the very end, he says to all of them, to his brothers, and to all who harmed him, لا تثريب عليكم اليوم يغفر الله لكم. There is no blame on you today. I forgive you. That is what we need today. No grudge. No grudge against one another. Be able to forgive. We want Allah's forgiveness. Let us forgive others. And that is what we need to learn. The most important part of Nabi Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam's chapter. There's many stories. It's a beautiful, beautiful chapter. Listening to it, you can cry, you can smile. Everything is of emotion in that particular chapter. We move from there to Surah Al-Ra'd. Surah Al-Ra'd, thunder and lightning. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, anybody who reads Surah Al-Ra'd, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will grant him the reward of the clouds that are moving. And that is where the Ra'd, the thunder and the lightning emanates from. So as long as you're reciting Surah Al-Ra'd, you will find that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward you for as long as the clouds are moving until the day of Qiyamah. Imagine you start reading Surah Al-Ra'd from tonight onwards, and how many rewards you will get until the day of Qiyamah, inshallah. You know, I must tell you this, when I was in hospital, the hospital was the neighbor of the masjid here for a month and a half, and one of the Hufaz sent me a clip of reading Surah Al-Ra'd. He studied with me and he said, Shaykh, please listen to it. Inshallah, Allah will give you shifa through Surah Al-Ra'd. And wallahi, it was so beautiful just to listen to it, because I was lying in the bed and not knowing what's happening around me. But alhamdulillah, look where I am today. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam taught us the greatness of Surah Al-Ra'd. And in Surah Al-Ra'd, we have another sajda. A sajda that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about the creation of the universe, that is bowing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for their gratefulness to Allah. So who are we not to bow down to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? But I want to move on to Surah Ibrahim. I'm not going to talk about Surah Ibrahim, but there is one particular verse in Surah Ibrahim that is very crucial for all of us, because we like to play the blame game. The blame game, blame someone else for what we do wrong. Even the day of Qiyamah, after Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has decreed where we're all going to go, we will still try and blame shaitan if we are being punished. And then shaitan's response to that blame is this. وَقَالَ الشَّيْطَانِ لَمَّا قُضِيَ الْأَمْرِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ وَعَدَكُمْ وَعْدَ الْحَقِّ وَوَعَدْتُكُمْ فَأَخْلَفْتُكُمْ وَمَا كَانَ لِي عَلَيْكُمْ مِنْ سُلْطَانٍ إِلَّا أَنْ دَعَوْتُكُمْ فَاسْتَجَبْتُمْ لِي فَلَا تَلُومُونِي وَلُومُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ مَا أَنَا بِمُصْرِخِكُمْ وَمَا أَنْتُمْ بِمُصْرِخِي. Shaitan will say the day of Qiyamah, you all in your place, Allah promised you, He fulfilled His promise. I promised you, I didn't fulfill my promise. So don't blame me, blame yourself. I had no authority over you. Listen to the words, my dear brothers and sisters. He had no authority over us. He didn't hold a gun to your head and say, come, you must do the wrong thing. He says, I only called you and you came. Come on. Treat him as the enemy. Allah says, Inna shaytana lakum adu, fattakhiduhu aduwa. Treat him as your enemy. Don't treat him as your friend. When he calls you, don't go. Stay far away from him. And this is the verse that I like to focus on, because he says, don't blame me, blame yourself. I disobeyed Allah long time ago already. So don't you fall into the same trap. From there, at the end of Surah Ibrahim, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about those who oppress others, those who do wrong to others, those who think they are superior to others. فَلَا تَحْسَبَنَّ اللَّهَ غَافِلًا عَمَّا يَعْمَلُ الظَّالِمُونَ. Don't think Allah don't know what you are doing. Allah is just holding you back. Yes, you go on your oppressing. Israelis must know. Whoever is oppressing others in the world must know. Don't think that Allah don't know. He's just holding you back. But the day of Qiyamah, when you're going to start rolling your eyes, your heart is going to jump into your throat. That's the day you're going to say, رَبَّنَا أَخِّرْنَا إِلَىٰ أَجَلٍ قَرِيبٍ. Send us back, please. Short period. What are you going to do? نُجِبْ دَعْوَتَكَ وَنَتَّبِعَ الرُّسُلِ. Now we're going to obey you and we're going to follow the messenger. Then Allah will say, أَفَلَمْ تَكُونُوا أَقْسَمْتُم مِّن قَبْلُ مَا لَكُم مِّن زَوَالٍ. Didn't you do this before already? You promised there's no ways you're going to go back. So don't think that when you do wrong to someone, even if nobody else knows about it, or you feel bad, or you suspect somebody in your mind and you think bad about others, Allah knows about it. So be aware. This is the time of awareness, consciousness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us to achieve that through our taqwa and through our siyam, insha'Allah, that we are always 24/7 aware of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's presence, that Allah is watching over us, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees us, Allah is listening to us at every single moment. Allah knows what is in our minds, what is in our hearts. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us, guide us all, insha'Allah, and accept all good that is being done. And I think our Imam asked he's not going to be here this evening. I think he's on the pledge line. And Al-Quds, they're having their pledge line tonight on Hilal TV. And that is in support of the Palestinian Brothers and Al-Quds Foundation. So please, my dear brothers and sisters, support kindly and generously. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward you abundantly and eternally, insha'Allah. Wa akhiru da'wana and alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.